Hi, if you have been to the OPS in-services page to sign up for a workshop, you may notice that some are listed as a webinar. These workshops meet online in an Adobe Connect meeting room. This video will give you a brief overview of what your experience will be like during the webinar. We close registration for the workshops 24 hours before the webinar, so we can send attendees a link to the Adobe Connect meeting room. You will receive an email from the presenter with information about the meeting and a link to the meeting room. I'm going to go down and access my email and open up a sample email that you may receive. Before you plan to go to the link on the webinar, you'll want to go to the bottom of the email if this is your first time going to the Adobe Connect meeting room. There's a link inside to check your settings on your computer that you're going to use for the webinar. I'll click on the link to test the connection of this computer. It's going to check to see if I have an updated version of Flash. It's going to check my Adobe Connect connection test and the speed of my connection. It's also going to test an Adobe Connect add-in to see if I have everything that I need to get connected into the meeting room. If your tests come back successfully, you're ready to go the day of the webinar. If you have items that do not pass, you will need to take care of those. If Flash is found to be out of date, you can do a quick search online for the most up-to-date Flash player. If you do not have rights to download Flash and install it, you'll need to contact your building tech support. If it says you need to install the Adobe Connect add-in, you have rights to do that right inside the window. It will give you a prompt to do that. This is important to do before the day of the webinar so that you have time to get everything connected. Once the day of the webinar comes, then you'll need to find the link within that email, and you'll click on that link to connect. You'll enter as a guest, and you can use your name if you want other people to know who you are. I'll click Enter Room. It'll go through its connection process, and then you'll enter into the Adobe Connect meeting room. The way that we have the webinars set up, the presenter will be able to speak, but the attendees will only be able to chat. But it's important that you're able to hear the attendee. Some computers have the speaker built right inside their computer, so you'll just need to turn up the volume. However, if you're in a place that you don't want others to hear the webinar going on, we suggest headphones. If you're in a room where several people are going to be watching the same webinar with you, we suggest a set of speakers so that everybody can hear it with an amplified sound. On the day of the webinar, once you enter into the room, you'll see that I'm acting as the presenter, so it shows me as the host up at the top left side. You'll see a list of participants. For this sample, I'm just using Jane Doe. When I'm doing this tutorial video, I'm going to work as the presenter on one computer and as an attendee on the other computer so that you can see what your experience will be like. Once you're inside, if you feel like the presenter is probably talking based on what's happening on this screen, but you cannot hear anything, you can first see if your volume is turned up. If it is, you can also try exiting the Adobe Connect room by going up to the top left and selecting Meeting, Exit Adobe Connect. You can also click out of it using the red X. Sometimes connecting back in and re-logging in will fix any of the display or sound issues. Once inside, the presenter may have information already displayed, or it may just be a gray main screen. As the presenter, I want my audience to see a PowerPoint, so I'm going to share a document with the audience. I upload a PowerPoint, and then the audience will be able to view that PowerPoint once it's loaded, and I'll be able to walk them through that PowerPoint. Some options for the audience is to go to full screen mode. When you select full screen mode, it allows you to see more of the PowerPoint, but it takes away some of the attendees' views on the left side. I'm going to click full screen to go back out of it. On the left side where I can see the presenter and the attendees, I also have an option to chat. I can chat with other attendees, or I can ask questions for the presenter. Below that are some meeting links that the presenter is providing, and the presenter can push out these links so that the audience can see those same websites. I'm going to stop sharing the PowerPoint, and I'm going to push out one of those websites. When I push out the website goes in front of the Adobe Connect room. So the presenter can be talking about this website, however, you're not going to see what they're clicking on unless you rearrange your windows. So I'm going to make this window a little bit smaller and slide it over to the side. I'm going to minimize my Adobe Connect room a little bit smaller. And as a presenter, I have to share my screen so that others can see what I'm clicking on. So I'm going to share my screen so that they can see me as I'm interacting with that website. It's giving me an alert that I can go to full screen mode. I'm just going to close that with the X, and I'm going to resize this screen so that I can still see one screen as the presenter is interacting with it. Now that I have both of my windows resized, on the left I can see as my presenter is moving around on the screen and clicking on different things, I see that happening in the left side. And then if I want to follow along, I can make those same clicks on the right side on my screen so that I can match what the presenter is showing. If that's difficult for you, you can just sit back and watch the presenter and learn, and know that you can always go back and watch the recording to practice the steps yourself. I'm going to go back into the view of the class, and as a presenter, I'm going to stop sharing this website so that I can focus you on some of the other things that are available in the Adobe Connect room. If the presenter wants to give rights for an attendee to talk, they will first need to enable the microphone for that attendee. This option will not usually be used during webinars, but I'll show it to you just in case you ever need it to take place and the presenter decides to do that. So the presenter wants to give Jane Doe rights to use her microphone so that everybody can hear her. The presenter is going to press on the person's name and enable their microphone. And then what Jane Doe will see is that she's been given microphone rights up in this right corner. I'll press an X. And for her to be able to talk, she's going to have some type of microphone. Some computers have a microphone built into them, but if your computer does not, you would actually have to be able to plug in an external microphone, or you would only be able to use the chat window. If you do have a microphone and you're given rights to use the microphone, you'll see a new icon in the top left corner that looks like a microphone. You click on it and tell it to connect your audio. And when you press allow, your microphone will then be able to connect your audio to others in the webinar. I'm going to take away Jane Doe's rights for the microphone, and it will show that the microphone has been disconnected. So then Jane would only be able to interact using the chat window. There's a few more buttons that I want to focus you on up in the top left corner. There are some things that you can do with your own audio if you want to mute the conference audio or adjust the speaker volume. There's also some options inside the little person where you can alert to the presenter different things. However, you can always put that in the chat window. Again, when you're ready to log out, you can press on the meeting and choose Exit Adobe Connect, or you can go to the red X. Overall, we are hoping the Adobe Connect Meeting Room will allow users that usually can't get to a workshop the ability to attend more workshops online. We also plan to post the recordings of the webinars so others that are unable to attend can view the recording on www.ops.org/TechHub. The first webinar you attend, you may be nervous, but viewing this video, doing the system check before the webinar, and knowing that if you experience difficulty, that there will be a recording to view the webinar later, will hopefully make this a successful experience for you. Thank you for viewing this video, and I hope you have a great day.